My name is Bridget Long. I'm a visiting research fellow at the University of Hertfordshire. My particular interest and knowledge extends from the 18th century into the early 19th century, focusing on domestic needlework and with a specific knowledge in patchwork of the period. Historically in the collection, this has been called the Acton Quilt, but as you will see when looking at it, it has none of the texture achieved by quilting a sandwich of a top, middle and a back. So should we call this the Acton Quilt? For accuracy reasons, the curatorial staff have decided to give its correct term, which is patchwork and applique top. The Acton Quilt was donated to the museum in 1931 by Miss Graham at Acton, and it's said to have been made by the Ince family in about 1810. The quilt has been constructed with a very obvious centre visual focus, and that's surrounded by frames of applique and patchwork. So we tend to call it a frame design. Figures facing outwards on three sides, but on one side it faces inward, and that suggests that that would have been the top of the piece, and it would have made sense if you could conceive this as lying on a bed. The applique is featured in the centre of the top. In this case, the centre is a basket with flowers, including a very prominent sunflower in the centre. The first frame consists of figurative designs, including scenes from domestic life. They're women with high-waisted dresses in a style we often associate with the Regency, and men wearing long coats. Some of the men carry instruments demonstrating their trade. Others are dressed in a much smarter way, showing a higher status. So there is a slight difference in the social class between some of the figures. Alongside the domestic figures are 4 scenes from the Bible. Firstly, there's Elijah and the ravens. Then Elijah and the beggar woman. Christ and the Samaritan woman at the well. And Christ healing the blind man. This first frame is completed with a variety of flowers and animals and domestic objects dotted around the figurative figures. It's constructed using a very time-consuming but accurate technique which we now call mosaic patchwork. The centre is made up of a very popular shape for the time, the hexagon, and the hexagons are joined together to make little rosettes of 6 hexagon shapes around a centre that give a floral effect. The outside frame or border consists of 2 patchwork shapes, the equilateral triangle, and inside that rows of a curved shape which, when built up, looks like scales overlapping. This we call clamshell, and it does appear a patchwork at this time. The majority of the top is made up of printed fabric using 3 techniques that were dominant at the time. It starts with block printed fabrics from the late 18th century. The second printing technique we see is plate printing. The last printing technique we can see on the top. This involves the use of a roller. This is a very complex patchwork and applique design, but it's not uncommon from the period. The clues drawn from the print designs and the dye techniques suggest that this top was made in the 1820s, and it connects it to an important piece in the Victoria and Albert Museum, signed Anne West and dated 1820. It shows a piece of work made with care by Sunday using all her creative skills. Women's creative productivity in the past has been overlooked, and I think we should recognise that a woman had very few other ways to show her skills and creativity, used all her skills to put it into this top.